Hey guys, we are going to be looking at Flash today. So this is our first tutorial. It's a kind of a walkthrough of what to expect in Flash. Okay, so that's going to be once we've finished our flipbook, we'll be doing just an introduction to the interface and what we can expect in Flash. So let's open up Flash, or I should call it Animate. It's called Animate now, although it is essentially the same thing. They just rebranded it. So here's our opening screen. When you open up Flash, once you've logged in, you can decide on what you're going to be creating. So you'll see that there's a Create New title here, and you can make a number of different types of files here. You may be using a newer version. I'm using 2018. You guys might be on 2019 by now, or potentially in the future. This may change, but essentially what we're going to be doing is looking for the action script template. So let's select that, and we're given this interface here. So looking around at what we have, there are sort of a bunch of sections, and if you have used Photoshop, you'll recognize some of these. What I'm going to have you do every time we start up is I'm going to have you go to the Essentials workspace, and then I'm going to have you reset the Essentials workspace. And it'll ask you if you really want to do that. You say yes, and it's going to set everything back to like a default position. The reason I want you to do that is so that if I am, I'm talking about something down here, it'll be on the same spot in your workspace so that we are seeing the same thing. I don't want you struggling with missing something because you couldn't find it because it's it's been closed or whatever. So that's Essentials, reset Essentials. And the reason that's important is because you'll see that I can move these. These are called palettes. You can move these palettes around. Okay, we call this docking and undocking, and you can add them wherever you want to make your interface kind of usable for whatever thing it is you're doing. And so Flash has a number of preset orientations which work depending on what you're doing. It'll bring up the tools that they think that you are going to use most often. So I'm going to go to Essentials, and I'm going to reset my Essentials. It puts it back to this sort of default position, and you'll be able to find everything. One thing I am going to change is I'm going to move my toolbar from over here, and I'm going to redock it on the left side and turn it into a 2-column grid. I find this is the easiest way to work, and so that's my preference. Some tools. This is our toolbar. There are a number of tools that you'll be using fairly often, and each one has got a tooltip. And each time you navigate over and hover over the tool, it'll give you the name of the tool, and it'll give you a keyboard shortcut. So you can see there's for the lasso tool, there's an L. If I hit L on my keyboard, it selects the lasso tool. If I select V on my keyboard, it selects the selection tool, or this is called selection tool. If I hit A on my keyboard, it selects the subselection tool. And T is text. There are a number of them, and you'll see each one has got a tooltip. Start to learn those because those are going to save you a lot of time. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this hand tool. Now the keyboard shortcut for hand is H, but this is a really useful tool. You'll be finding that you'll be moving in and out of kind of moving around your interface often. And what you'll probably want to do is learn that the space bar temporarily changes you to that tool. So then you don't lose the tool you're working on. So say you're making a circle and you want to zoom in or move around or whatever, and you don't want to lose that tool. I still have the tool selected. You just hold the space bar and it temporarily changes to the hand tool. Now this doesn't matter when you're zoomed out, but when you're zoomed in, if I am zoomed in like this, I want to move up a little bit, I can keep doing what I'm doing by holding the space bar. Okay. Speaking of zooming, let's go to 100%. So Command 1 will set you to 100%, and Command plus will zoom you in. Command minus will zoom you out. Okay. You can use the zoom tool as well to zoom into a specific area. Okay, or double click this to take you back out to 100%. And finally, there's also this guy here where you can zoom in to set percentages. Okay, Command 1, back to 100%. Okay, I'm going to go to my selection tool here, which is V on my keyboard. I'm going to select all these guys and delete them. Let's take a look around at what we've got here. We've got in the bottom a timeline. This is quite important, and within the timeline, you'll see it says Layer 1. And then at the bottom of the timeline, we've got some kind of tools. You notice that if I, for example, I'm going to draw a circle here, okay, and it changed what's in Layer 1. Let me undo that. I'm going to go Edit, Undo, and notice on this timeline there's like a little frame here. Okay, a frame is like a page of your flipbook that we made. And so when I draw, right now it's empty, but as soon as I let go, it says, oh, there's something there now. It's coincidental that it's a black dot. That's not a preview or anything. So if I change this, for example, to green and a square, okay, it's still a black dot. It's just saying that there's something there. And I put it on layer 1. I'm also going to do this. I'm going to change another color. I'm going to make a circle, and I'm going to set that circle in front of this. Now, it looks like it's in front, on top of that, but the way Flash works, because these are on the same layer, if I go to move this out of the way, it actually does a big cutout. Because they're on the same layer, they share the layer, and one can be used to basically Boolean remove part of the other. That's an important thing to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo, edit, undo that move, and edit, undo, double click, and edit. I'm going to go back a few sets here until I'm back to the point where I only have my rectangle. And I'm going to create a new layer. So I'm going to name this one square by double clicking and typing square. And then down here there's like a little new page icon. I'm going to click that and it creates a new layer. I'm going to call that one circle. And I'm going to go right here and drag. Notice that circle is selected right now. Square is here. If I click on circle, that's the selected layer. And when I draw my circle, it puts it on this layer. Okay, so they're now separated. If I go to my selection tool and I double click my circle, you'll see that now when I move it, because they are on separate layers, they're no longer interfering or cutting into each other. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create 4 layers, one called square, one called circle, one called star, and one called line. I'm going to go here. Okay, that'll be called star. This will be called line. Oops. Make sure you double click to select it. Line. And we're going to add those things onto each layer. So on the line layer, I'm going to draw just a line. Okay, and on the star layer, I'm going to change this guy here. I can actually change the way this tool works to make a star. But we're gonna kind of cheat it. I'm gonna make a hexagon like that, and then I'm just gonna curve in these edges to make a star. I'll show you in another tutorial how to create a star properly. But there you have it. Each one on its own layer. I can turn on and off the visibility of each layer, and I can move them so that they interact but don't cut away from each other. Okay, practice that, and then we'll move on to part 2 of this tutorial once everyone is done.